Good morning. We are going to be talking about a census versus what some people will call a survey. There is definitely a difference. In fact, I want to look at some vocabulary before we even get started. And that first one is census. What a census is, it's an official count or a survey of an entire population. That's the big key here. It's the entire population. I can't leave out anyone. And it usually records various details of individuals. A survey, well, how I get my information from a census or for a census is a survey. A survey is just a method of collecting that data. And most of us think of a survey as when I go next to people and I ask them questions. When I go up to them and ask them a question, that is a survey. Now, a survey, getting those results, can lead to a census or just a collection of data, which is our next vocabulary word, data. And the data is those pieces of information. They can be numbers, they can be facts, but those are the pieces of information that I'm trying to get from my survey to form my census. Next vocabulary word is frequency. And frequency is the number of times an item actually occurs in that set of data. How many times somebody voted for this over what voted for that. And the last one we're looking at today is a grouped frequency table. And a group frequency table is, I know some of you might not know what this word means, or at least looking at your rooms in your backpack, it would not seem like you know this word. It is the organization of that data in a table form. And in that table, we have classes and we have frequencies. Now, I want to let you know, classes are not like your history, your English, or math. Classes are really the thing that you're asking for. In fact, if I go ahead and look at this frequency table down here, I actually asked many people what their favorite color was. This is my question. And the colors, all the different colors that were voted on, that's the classes. All the different answers are my classes. That's what's called a class. So just so you know, classes are not your typical ones that you think of English and math. It's actually all those answers. So when I'm looking at creating a census, let's say I wanted to do a census of just my entire class, maybe period 1. If I'm looking at a census, that means I'm actually having to ask every single person in that room. It's the entire population. One thing that's very important for you to do is there has to be, and if you're doing this with my homework, you really better, I need what your question is asking. What is this census question? For this one, it's going to be, what is your favorite color? So I went around and I asked every single person, I made sure it was a census, asked every single person what their favorite color was, and notice I just went and wrote down every answer. Well, that's great, but if I didn't have this over on this side right here, let's just pretend this didn't even exist. Don't cross that out right now. If I just looked at that table and I said, oh, well, how many people pick green? How many pick blue, orange, yellow? Why is it taking you so long to answer me? Well, that's because a table like that, just writing down answers, it's very hard to collect that data and without taking a lot of time finding the answers to those questions. And that's why we have something called a grouped frequency table. So once I actually get everyone's answer, this is when I start to create a grouped frequency table. And like I said, those classes, which were the colors, I write down every possible answer underneath it. And then I go through that list that I just had everyone vote on, and I get those tallies. Tallies those little lines that we mark when people vote. So I went through and I said, okay, and I put one down for, and I just went down my list. Red, purple, green, purple, and you can even put a little check mark next to each one to make sure you're not going to miss any. But all of those create those tally marks. And from those tally marks, well then, it's very easy for me to get my frequency, which is how many people said red was their favorite color. That was 2. Purple, 4. Green, 6. Blue, 9. Yellow, 1. Platinum, 1. White, 1. Orange, 1. Now, I have all that information that was in this long table when I was just voting and writing down answers. I have it organized in one nice place. So now if I said, how many people voted for green? Instantly, you know the number 6. Oh, what was the most popular color? Blue. What was the least popular color? Yellow, platinum, white, and orange. Which one was people's second favorite? Green. Do you see how fast you can get those answers? Because of that organization in that group frequency table. Now you're going to be creating a census for me and making this group frequency table in class. But from that, I'm going to ask you to make a histogram. And continuing our notes, a histogram, if I look at that definition, a histogram is actually just a way of displaying that numerical data. And how I'm going to display it is I use horizontal or vertical bars to the heights to show me the frequency. It's another way to display and get information quickly like that group frequency table. In fact, you're going to use that grouped frequency table to create the histogram. So when I go ahead and look at a histogram, first thing is, well, you definitely need a question. What was the question I did on my census? What is your favorite, color? So I have my question on there, and then the bottom of my histogram, I have my titles. You remember those classes? I have the main title of the classes, which are colors. Once I write down what it is, notice I wrote down every single color from my group frequency table. Those are all the classes. Along the side, I have my frequency. And notice I'm saying right here, I need to make sure that when I put my numbers on there, because I can see from my group frequency table, my largest number is 9. Since my largest number is 9, I'm not going to count by ones, because if I just sat there and counted by ones all the way up, I would have a big gap on the top of just empty space. So what I want to do is kind of evenly distribute those numbers. So since my biggest is 9, probably would make better sense for me to count every other line as 1. And notice I number them. I need those evenly distributed. Then, using straight lines and outlining in black, I'm going to create those bars. And notice, bars connect in a histogram. A bar graph, they're usually separated. Histograms, they normally touch each other. But histograms and bar graphs are very similar. So notice from my frequency table, red was 2, purple was 4, green was 6, blue was 9, yellow was 1, platinum was 1, white was 1, and orange was 1. So notice I went and made those bars above each of those classes or colors. And they went up to the number to indicate their frequency. Now, one thing I do want is I definitely want to see you color those graph bars. Because if I just had it in black and white, it doesn't stand out quite as much. But when I actually use colors for each individual bar, you can see it kind of pops out at you. And again, this is a way for me to actually see visually my answers. It's obvious just by looking, even if I kind of squint and can't read things very well, I can see which one is the tallest bar, that blue. I can see the second tallest is that green. I can see the ones that are low are the yellow, platinum, white, and orange. So it's another way for me to really see what my answers were from my census, just a visual organizational chart. So again, organizational chart to get information, our histograms and our group frequency table, and our census is kind of getting information from people, but making sure we get everyone included for it to be a census. Otherwise, it's just a simple random sample. It's a sampling of people. Sampling of people is not including everyone. I just go and ask a few. But a census, I need to get every person involved. So that is what we're going to be working on, is our census and our histogram in class. If you have any questions, bring them with you. Otherwise, I will see you there.